Many times I hear the following statement, and hey, I am guilty of actually saying this statement when I was a much younger veterinary technician. So I hear the statement, they shouldn't own a pet if they can't afford it. I'm going to pause here. This is a loaded statement that I want everyone to remove out of their language. Let me be very clear. In my much younger years, I said that statement an awful lot. I had plenty of pet owners that came in, broken legs, bloat patients, urinary obstructed patients, diabetic patients, and I would say those things over and over. They shouldn't own a pet if they can't afford it. There should be like an application. You should have to fill out how much income you have. Don't people realize how expensive pets are? And I look back at my younger version of myself and I'm embarrassed because now, 20 something years later into this profession, I have changed my mindset where I believe everyone should be able to own a pet regardless of income. And this includes homeless people. There's plenty of studies out there that actually show that homeless people actually have a huge benefit from pet ownership. They actually attribute their sobriety and getting out of homelessness because of an animal they owned. And let's be very clear, the animal wants to be loved. It doesn't know if it lives in a mansion or if it lives on the street. What it wants is that companionship, particularly with our dog species. You know, you look at two different groups of people. You have a homeless man who wanders the streets, may or may not live in the shelter, may sleep on the streets, may give all or most of his food to his dog, literally begging to stay alive. There's that individual. And then you have a dog that lives in a very pristine, we'll call it a mansion. The owners are very wealthy. Everything is prim and proper. The dog has nice beds. The dog has all the food in the whole world. And now let's compare those two individuals' lives. The homeless person doesn't have a job. That dog always gets to stay with that gentleman or that woman. They get to wander the streets. They get to meet a lot of people. They get to be petted continuously. They go on walks, which is amazing. They get to spend time outdoors. Now let's look at that dog living in the mansion. They have a family of 4. Parents come home. They're too busy. They open up their sliding door. They let the dog outside. They have an acre of land that is fully fenced in. And that dog sits in a yard by itself. And it doesn't do anything, and it chases a ball occasionally when a kid throws it. But the kid gets bored, goes inside. Now the dog just watches the birds go by. It's dinner time. And the family decides to keep the dog outside because he's really annoying and they don't want the dog around during food time. And now it's starting to get dark, so they let the dog in. The dog is high energy because no one's walked it or interacted with it, and they get annoyed. And they tell the dog it has to sleep on a bed. Don't sleep on the couch. Don't sleep on the actual human bed, as in the dog bed. And there's a lot of yelling at the dog. And then people go, oh, but it's cute. And they pet it a little bit. And that's the interaction it gets. Who has a better quality of life? Exactly. And so the dog and the cat doesn't know anything other than what they grew up with. And so I am a firm believer now, many years later into this profession, everyone should own an animal. And so it gets to be a little bit complicated because how do we do that and how do we maintain these pets with people that are struggling with income? When you have an animal with a broken leg, it's not like they can go home. But can we think outside the box and how can we help support that person? And even if we can't support that person, and unfortunately it's something that we end up euthanizing over, can we please pull out of our language, they shouldn't own a pet unless they can afford it. That animal doesn't know any different. What it knows is it was truly loved and had the most amazing experience. And it was actually taken care of. And there's different levels of being cared for. I mean, we have, people who go all out for oncology and they're doing chemotherapy. I know valve replacements that have happened in dogs, and we have hemodialysis occurring for certain toxicities. We've got, respiratory distress being treated with high flow nasal oxygen and ventilators. Really cool stuff we can do. But the end result is that the animal doesn't know anything except for the here and the now. And so in that moment when it's being treated with all of those medical procedures, it's not happy. And if it lived a great life with somebody who, lived on the street and then unfortunately it broke its leg at the age of 8 and that person can't take care of it, it had a great life. So we have to recognize that there's varying levels of pet care. And in this day and age, we have a lot of ways to raise money. There's obviously a lot of wonderful online sites like GoFundMe. We can have pet owners set up, actual charities for their actual pet. We do a lot of fundraising in our own hospitals. This was something that 20, 30 years ago, a lot of veterinary hospitals didn't even consider. But I know a lot of hospitals that have secondary funds. There's actual shelters who donate to veterinary hospitals or to individuals to help actually offset the cost. And then, of course, we've got pet insurance. And I encourage that for anyone who owns a pet who can afford to do so. But here's what I know. It is beautiful owning an animal. And regardless of your income status, regardless of how much money you make, whether you are wealthy or completely homeless without a dollar to your name, everyone should get the joy of understanding what it means to be a pet owner. And we in the veterinary community needs to support that. And I know it gets very difficult at times because we have clients screaming at us and saying, you're money grubbing, all you want is money, fix his leg for nothing. And listen, we can't give away all our services for free. Let me be very clear, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that when we come up to those people, be compassionate, be empathetic, and realize they just really love their pets. Is there a way? Can we brainstorm? Can we figure something out? What can we do for them, if anything? And those decisions are hard when it comes down to the fact that maybe we can't do anything. But in the end, support that person to the best of your ability. In the end, be kind to them. And in the end, realize everyone, regardless of money, should have the beauty of understanding what it means to own a pet. So please take those two sentences out of your language. They shouldn't own a pet if they can't afford it. Pull that right out and say, everyone should own an animal, and I'm here to support them to the best of that I can. I might not always get it right. I might fail miserably. I might not be able to support them, but I believe everyone, including the homeless, should own a pet. Thank you so much for listening, and keep on being a unicorn.